Hey fans, I know everyone's wondering, it was just a boner. I got a boner, that's it. To my brother, to my mom and dad who listen to this podcast, it was just a boner. It's normal.
It's healthy.
I'm going to tell everybody I know to start with this episode for our podcast. No context, no anything.
All I'm going to say, guys, is bustin' makes me feel good.
Hell yeah.
Well, Ghostbusters is no longer part of this bracket. Spoilers, get fucked if you started with this one rather than the first episode of this bracket.
Apologies for future Jake stans who started this episode because I told you to.
Yeah, that's why you shouldn't listen to Jake ever. With that,
he's been back one episode and we're already telling everyone to ignore everything he says.
Hello and welcome back if you've sat with us before. We're the Tough Cut Podcast. I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jake.
And this is part 2 of our team ups brackets. We're coming at you with some fresh, hot movies. In the first half of the episode, we've got Power Rangers 2017 versus Guardians of the Galaxy. And in the second half, we've got Galaxy Quest versus Seven Samurai. So lots to look forward to.
Galaxies. That's crazy. Sorry. That's
lots
insane.
of space stuff.
I just noticed it.
Lots of space stuff.
But yeah, what were you going to say?
These movies have
that's
a
way
lot
more
of
important.
crossover.
Yeah.
This is our team bracket. So these movies have groups of people in them.
Yeah, no, you're right. I shouldn't have said the galaxy thing and interrupted you for that. I mean, Matthew already did it, but spoilers, just for life, I guess, to spoil the movies, to spoil our podcast, to spoil anything. Yeah.
Spoil your milk. You should check your fridge.
Everyone go check
spoil
their milk.
Your
go
appetite.
Check you and your friend's milk today. Yeah.
Together.
I don't think you're good friends with someone unless you know if their milk is close to expiring or not. That's my hot take of the podcast.
It's milk inspection day.
Does that mean that I don't have any friends?
Do you want to know how close your milk is to expiring, Alex? I could tell you.
Yeah, Jake, how close is my milk to expiring?
4 days. Go check it. Fact check me right now.
It's a trick question. There is literally no milk in my apartment, including like non-dairy alternatives.
Look under your bed. Look under your bed right now.
Jake, how did you get this cow in my apartment?
Cool. Anything else you want to call out before we hop into these?
Oh, yeah. Just a little content warning. We encourage you guys to watch these movies beforehand and all that stuff. But if you're just watching it randomly or whatever, Seven Samurai does depict some parental abuse. So keep an eye on that if that's something that's sensitive content for you guys. We'll be maybe talking about it, maybe not, but it is something that will pop up in the movie if you have 4 hours to spare to watch it.
Hey, it's only 3.5. And there's a 10-minute intermission.
There is an intermission.
Long movies. Okay, I'm fine with it. I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. Okay, it's fine.
Cool.
But yeah, that's
do you
about
hop into this.
Let's hop.
Let's do it. Jake, do you want to start by introducing?
I sure do. Hell yeah. My final movie that I pitched is Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn, 2014. Hell of a time, hell of a movie. It's basically about space outlaws and misfits come together to form an uneasy truce as they get roped into a power struggle with a ruthless zealot hell-bent on using one of the most powerful items in the galaxy to wipe out a planet. It's a random film. Thank you. I was really proud of that.
It was good.
Yeah.
Very clean.
Thanks, guys. Wow. Thank you. Yeah. Unlikely in a lot of ways, story-wise, but also meta. No one knew who Guardians of the Galaxy really were. And, James Gunn brought it. It was a huge gamble for Marvel. And then here we are.
Get some angry DMs on Twitter from people who've been reading the comics since the 80s.
Look, if you know, I will only give you that you're a Howard the Duck stan. That I understand. Once you go Duck, you're out of luck or whatever the says. I love this movie and I think it holds up really, really well. It's a shame that, James Gunn is like a weirdo and like did weird shit or whatever, but like, I don't know. It's it holds up really well, and I was really excited to go back to it because I haven't rewatched this film in kind of a hot minute for me for like Marvel content. And I think it just holds up. I just had a great time rewatching this movie. So what do you think, Alex?
I love this movie. I'm a huge Marvel fan. And this movie, like you said, was a huge surprise to me. I had no idea who any of the characters were. And then the joy of it coming out of it being like, I knew nothing about any of this. And it was one of the best movies I'd seen that year for sure. It probably is my top 3 favorite Marvel movies. I was watching it this time, the whole time being like, okay, where's the team dynamic? Where are the characters? Because that is what this bracket is about, right? And for the majority of the movie, I'm like, okay, this is like pretty good. I'm getting the characters. Like this, I remember like why I like these characters. And then that third act of the movie hits, and they each have such strong character moments in that third act that are just like, oh yeah, that's why I cried when Groot exploded. That's why I thought Drax was so funny. Like,
yeah.
This movie is such a good character movie. The third act ties everything together so well.
It blew my mind watching it like for a theme. Like, you know, we watch these like movies and like, sure, we should just watch them like in general, whatever. But like when we watch it for this and when we have a certain thing that we pitched it for, it always is through different lens. And watching it looking for team dynamics,
it's a fresh
like you said, was wild.
Yeah.
It's really
what do you
good.
think, Matthew?
It's so good.
So as the least Marvel fan of the show.
Were you saying that just in case people would come for you on Twitter or something?
No, I don't think so. I've seen this movie before, but sitting down to rewatch it was surprisingly super, super fun. Like I've always enjoyed it and I remember liking it. It's just aged so well. It's just a good time. And yeah, I agree with Alex in the sense that it's up there in terms of the Marvel, you know, pantheon of movies. It's a very good one.
Yeah. And I'm very glad you brought it, Jake. But now it's time to introduce my movie, which is the 2017 Power Rangers movie, also known as Saban's Power Rangers. Released in 2017, directed by Dean Israelite.
Yeah.
Those Power Rangers are back. 5 delinquent teenagers learn they're superheroes as they fight the weirdest version of Elizabeth Banks ever. Bryan Cranston is in a wall. Bill Hader is a robot. And it is a surprisingly good time. I don't remember what movie we were seeing, but Matt, you came to see a movie with me and my friends.
I want to say it was it Doctor Strange? It
was Doctor Strange. We were going to see Doctor Strange, and we had like met pretty recently, so you like didn't know us super well, and you like decided to come out. I think
I was like, yeah, like what the heck? Let's go
we
for
were
it.
at the theater, and we saw this trailer for this epic looking movie that all of a sudden you just see the like red and blue and pink morph suits like going up, and it's like, what the fuck? This is Power Rangers. And then we all laughed, and it was like, okay. Cut to like 3 years later, I'm hanging out with my brother one night, and we're like, let's watch a stupid movie. Let's watch the new Power Rangers movie. And we watch it, and it fucking slapped. I have such a good time with this movie. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts. Matt, what did you think about this movie?
So this movie was cemented in my memory from that moment, Alex. This was my first time watching it because I'm like, there's no way it's actually any good. And I think in a weirdly similar way to Sonic the Hedgehog, this movie is better than it has any right to be. Like, is it the most spectacular film of all time? Absolutely not. I'm sure we'll get into it. But is a movie that literally everyone you asked would have been like, oh, that's going to be awful, actually surprisingly decent and fun and like all of the above? Yeah, absolutely. It's wild. Yeah, I had fun with it.
Hell yeah. Jake, what about you?
You want to know what my first thought was watching this movie like 15 minutes in?
Yeah.
It was, what rating is this Power Rangers movie? What is this movie rated? Because holy shit, it has everything, guys. Sex appeal.
It sure does.
It has like their kids, like the mother's dying. There's father's too hard on the athlete's son. That bully or whatever stabs her picture with scissors against a wall. This was a wildly
very Mean
darker
Girls.
run. Yeah. I had fun with it. Yeah, surprisingly as well.
Right?
It was just cool where it needed to be cool, but then it was like, what the fuck is going on?
It's like a surprisingly good teen drama. Like the characters are interesting. I think portrays high schoolers well. I love Dacker Montgomery simply because he looks like the human version of Shrek, and I can't get that out of my mind.
He does. No, he does.
Okay, I guess I'm alone. On that.
He looks exactly like human Shrek, but like
he's way hotter.
Oh, he looks like human Shrek.
Yeah,
like the scene where he's human. Okay, yes, I actually kind of agree with that.
Oh no, never mind. I was actually talking about real ogre Shrek. That's embarrassing, guys.
I just think like the characters have surprising depth. I just enjoy this movie.
They do have a hat where they just uplifted cliches of a teen drama and put it in there.
But they also like
to its credit, for sure. The thing that saved that was the campfire scene where it wasn't stereotypical. Like two people skipped, one person like said something but then like hated on it and then was skeptical, like doing their big reveal, whatever. Like two people did it. It was cool. Like it didn't feel like a conversation that I thought was going to happen from like a Power Rangers movie, you know?
Right. Yeah. We'll talk about it. The one thought I want to add to that, I think it's such a fascinating decision to have them be all sort of like in one way or another delinquent teens.
Yeah.
Is a really fascinating decision and I think helps a lot with their characterization. It was surprisingly fun. However, jumping into comparing these movies, we'll start with the same question we did in the last episode. Favorite member of the team and why? Any thoughts? We want to start with...
We'll do Power Rangers. We could start with Power Rangers.
We're talking about that one. Let's do it. You want to start, Jake?
Billy's the dude. I fucking love Billy.
Billy rocks. And Billy's so good.
You
Billy's
know what?
My favorite too.
First thought, I almost immediately was like, this movie shit, because when they, spoilers, killed Billy, my notes were like, damn, they bodied Billy. This movie's racist as fuck. I was like, they really did him like that. But then I was like, oh, wait, I'm watching a Power Rangers movie. They're not going to kill. But here's the thing. They were so dark before, whatever.
I just want to understand the world logic of once all the Power Rangers come together and morph, they can one time bring someone back to life.
Yeah, that's pretty...
Why is that a rule in the universe?
I think it's like
They're going to use that in Sonic 2, bet.
Yeah, that's a pretty big plot hole that they don't have to examine, I feel like, until Power Rangers 2. That's never going to come out. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But what I think is these movies have surprising comparisons, like how Groot dies in Guardians of the Galaxy, Billy dies in this. Like there's a lot in common.
Tell me your favorite character.
Billy. I agree with you. It's
Billy. Yeah.
Matt, how are you?
I thought. Oh my.
I am. I like Billy a lot. Then I also actually I'll go with him. I think he barely edges out second place.
Who was your second place?
Who's second place?
How'd you pronounce his name? Dacker?
Oh, Zach. Right?
No. Dacker Montgomery.
His character's name is Jason.
Oh, never mind. Zach was my second favorite. I liked him.
Yes. But I thought Zach was just a little too
chaos energy
over the top for me. Yeah, it was just like I'm like
I love that shit. He just went for it.
Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy.
My favorite is
Mine's Rocket. Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Wow, you guys are so in sync with these cats.
Whoa.
I feel like though, I think
crazy.
Rocket's my favorite more because of his arc in the second movie than in the first one.
See, I like him a lot because it's wild to me that that's Bradley Cooper. Not like he really felt like his own character.
Yeah.
Truly, like as a voice actor, like doing that role, I was like, that's awesome. And rewatching this for like team things or whatever, Rocket actually has a great arc in this. It is very like sad and his like drunk rants that he does. And it's very awesomely hinted at. And I love Rocket.
It's good.
The fact that you get a drunk raccoon rant is just its own beast.
Matt, what about you?
Roguish archetypes. I'm a big fan of the character of Star-Lord. And I mean that as the persona he puts on as Star-Lord is my favorite.
Oh, wow. You don't like the real man.
I just think, yeah, we'll go with that. I just think it's fun.
He likes the Star-Lord that sprays semen all over his ship and then talks
the fact
about
that
it.
He's like, if you had a black light, all these walls. It'd be like a Jackson Pollock. I'm like, did the guy just admit to coming on every wall of his ship? Both of these movies got a couple of cum jokes.
Yeah. For the first 5 minutes of Power Rangers where they show a cow penis. That's real, guys. That's real. They showed nudity.
The first 5 minutes of Power Rangers are crazy.
Can just set the stage so quickly? Power Rangers, a children's TV show originating from Japan, has a film adaptation years after it was off the air in America, at least the main, core bulk of its audience, made $105 million movie that opens with a scene about a high schooler accidentally masturbating a cow.
Yeah.
That is how this movie starts. $105 million. And I don't know, man, 15 years since the last time anyone thought about the Power Rangers, and you start it with jerking a cow off.
So funny. Wait, you're forgetting the scene that happens immediately before that, where they show Bryan Cranston, Power Ranger, and his team all dying.
Right.
One, they're naked inside their suits, which is very funny. Two, Bryan Cranston calls for the robot Alpha to send in a meteor to stop the things. Does that mean that the Power Rangers killed the dinosaurs?
Wait.
Because it's canon that the dinosaurs were there when the Power Rangers were there, because what the Zords are.
I totally forgot about the dinos and Power Rangers until I was like, why the fuck are dinos? It felt like Age of Extinction shit.
About the Zords.
How good was the moment where they did Go-Go Power Rangers?
I wanted them to play the full song.
Yeah.
They just played a modernized little snippet, and I was like, hell yeah. And then it stops immediately to transition into a standard pop song. And I'm like,
this may be a hot take. And then I'll get into a comparison from Matthew's thing, but I think the Power Rangers' biggest fault is when it did Power Rangers stuff. It's when here's the thing, it was a good movie, good team, whatever, their power, whatever it did. I thought the suits looked weird. I thought the dinos looked like they did nothing. They were really clunky. The Megazoid, we didn't even get to see it actually
click
go together, and that pissed me off so bad.
It just melted into slag in one giant.
Yeah, we didn't get the Voltron
I actually
moment.
want to immediately say something to that. I in a lot of ways agree with you. I think some of the weakest parts of Power Rangers were the action scenes.
Yeah.
I think they could have been so much better. That didn't look amazing clapping together. And it's I thought a lot of the other stuff what you're doing with the characters was really, really cool. This stuff I just wish had been better to really to marry those two elements.
Comparing it to Guardians, I mean, the CJ, the fights looked great, and even their little struggles, just the beginning where they're all together fighting for the orb, playing keep away, was so fun. It's a little tidbit of all their personality. They put personality into their fights, and that's what makes them really cool. They all fight like them.
I definitely agree with you guys about Power Rangers. I think the Power Rangers stuff in it is the weakest part. And then the fact that they have all these action sequences, or they have all this stuff. And then suddenly in the end, they're in their morph suits and they're doing classic Power Ranger flips and shit. And it just doesn't look good because the suits are poorly animated. Totally agree. What I'll say about Guardians, though, is that I've always struggled with the pacing of it. And I don't know what it is. But I always start to fall asleep during the prison sequence, and then I kind of wake back
45
up.
minutes in.
Yeah,
what? I think it's so fun.
I feel the pacing of it is weird. I think the final third of the movie I think is so good. But
interesting. I don't know if I agree, only because the prison escape is such a fun, and they're finally together in their first group shots there, and I love prison
I agree
escape,
that it's fun, but I fall asleep. I don't know why.
So
for so many action sequences and exciting moments, I feel it's really slow. I don't know.
I think I fall somewhere in between, because I don't think there are broad scale pacing problems. I also think the prison's a really fun set piece, especially because they're thrown into this immediate panic as you watch Groot in the background unplugging the battery. It's just that is. I do think you probably could have cut a little bit of fat from Guardians. I think
the stuff on Nowhere is where I would cut stuff.
I agree with But you get some good character
Exactly.
moments.
See,
Yeah.
I think the issue
It's
is
hard.
I feel like you get good character moments in all of these things, and that's why they have them in, so that way you like really have time to
That's
fall in love
probably
with
the
these
reason.
characters.
Yeah.
And it just, for me, for some reason, when they're in prison, I start to fall asleep.
You know what's wild, like on a what's keeping like attention standpoint comparing these movies is I was really kind of disappointed in Power Rangers because a lot of the fight scenes or whatever, and just the movie they were dark. Like they were very like dark to be, and then Guardians is like full of like light and like this like really like bright whatever.
Very colorful.
Welcome to the cop out for bad CGI.
No, exactly, and like that's
like it's the Venom stance of you put all your battles in the dark to hide your shitty CGI.
Yeah, and that's so disappointing. But also I'm okay. I promise I'm usually not a stickler for this, but it just stood out for me, so I have to say it. The sound mixing was awful in Power Rangers. Like there was a moment at the finale, the audio was playing like with like the music, whatever pop song it was, and then them like fighting and then them talking, and I couldn't understand them at all and what they were saying and talking because like the audio was too loud and then the fighting it was just too much. And I'm like, you guys gotta mix that shit better. I'm sorry.
I mean, if we're gonna talk sound mixing though, I don't need to talk about how I changed the volume on my TV 20 times during every Marvel movie because the talking is so quiet and then the action scenes are like like, I mean, I don't know.
I didn't get that with Guardians. And like, again, usually I don't give a shit about that, but like with this, like it stood out to me. Like I couldn't understand the characters, you know what I mean? And they were like, I don't know. It just like really was like, oh no.
As the neutral party, I'm going to drag this conversation to a different bit of sound that I have an opinion on.
Oh,
soundtrack.
Oh, right. You were going to sing that song for us. That's right. Yeah, Matthew, go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Matt, sing your favorite song from both movies.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, let's hear it.
Go, go, Power Rangers. And then in Guardians of the Galaxy,
Go, go, Guardians Galaxy. Go, go.
We're the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that it was really interesting. It was really interesting putting these two movies next to each other.
What you said?
I heard pussy.
I accidentally said pussing. Okay, very funny.
Can you use it in a sentence, please?
I am pussing these movies next to each other. Putting these two movies next to each other because they both like incorporate pop music, in Guardians' case, not modern pop, but pop music into their soundtracks as a pretty central piece. I think Power Rangers falls into the trap of they don't well incorporate it, or there wasn't too much thought into which songs were going where.
Yeah, totally agree.
Whereas I think it's something that Guardians does really, really well.
Yeah.
And I guess that's my comment on sound and music.
No, I agree.
Totally agree. The music in Guardians is fantastic, and it's such like a core identifier of the movie. Mm-hmm. It like brings so much character to the universe and the movie and everything. And I mean, in Power Rangers, it just kind of feels like they took some pop songs and made a soundtrack.
What happened to be popular like the month that they were producing the movie. They're like, well, throw that over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thoughtfulness is a good word for that. You're right.
Speaking of, I guess, just barreling backwards into our other conversation and action sequences, did you guys notice how much slow motion action is in Guardians of the Galaxy? It like really stood out to me this time watching it. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I just think it's funny that they do so much.
It didn't stand out to me. They're like a handful instances.
Almost every like character gets the zoom into like the center of the camera shot where they're like dive or whatever. I did notice that.
Oh, yeah, I guess there is quite a bit.
There are like a lot of ones where like when Star-Lord is like reaching for the orb, and when Rocket is like getting the gun, like, and there are a bunch more too. I'm sure there are a ton on Nowhere. Oh, when she's like grabbing the ball and about to explode, like there are a bunch.
I guess I can't comment on if that's like something James Gunn has in a lot of the movies he directs.
Yeah, now I'm trying to think about it. I don't know.
I'm not sure. That's an interesting point because what my takeaway from the action sequences was in general, I think the action direction is pretty good in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think so.
Something that frustrates me a ton, and a lot of the Marvel movies are also very guilty of this, is they quick cut around the way around a lot of the fights, so you don't get to see a lot of it actually transpire. It'll be like going into one shot, you cut to the next as the action was completed. Mm-hmm. It happens a decent bit, but they avoid it for a lot of like your biggest kind of small scale action moments, which I wanted to commend.
I was going to say, because I noticed it a lot, because I watched these two like as a double feature both the same day. Like Power Rangers like suffered because its fight sequences, it did cut a lot, but also it was in the dark for a lot of them. But for Guardians, like what they did, I noticed is like they did one cool movement and then cut. So it still felt like there were a lot of cuts, but it was still like you got to see one cool thing they did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, so it doesn't feel as egregious. Yeah. It's like we give a little, but then we take.
Oh God, they take.
We take.
Can I just say, the last thing I want to do a comparison about that I have at least is the rallying sequences that Jason is the name of the Red Ranger and Star-Lord have, because they're both awful speeches. That dude Jason, to rally his team in the football stadium, said, "Hey, we all suck. We did this for a lie. Let's kill this girl." Like almost verbatim. That was his rally. He's like, "Guys, we suck. Oh, by the way, our trainer fucking lied to us. Let's just kill the girl." And like that's literally it. But in the inverse for Guardians, they're just like, "Dude, we're losers. We suck." But with them, it felt more of a payoff because it was like, you know, they're.
I mean, like, I think like in Guardians, I think the reason Star-Lord's speech is better in Guardians is because it's after like a good conversation that the whole team is involved in. Mm-hmm. And so like that moment when he's giving his speech and you see their faces, you get like really good context for where they are. There are jokes in that speech from other characters, even though Star-Lord is talking, like people's reactions are funny. And so I think like the scene itself is better.
They argue like a family, I think.
Yeah, because I think in relation to in comparing how these groups come together, Power Rangers, their essential justification is the universe chose you by coincidence, or the universe chose you, and as a result, your meeting was a coincidence because it was, preordained or something. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Guardians of the Galaxy, it is essentially, I don't know, through coincidence, through the fact that they're all in league for the same sorts of thing, or they have this tangled net of this person wants to go after the whatever. More importantly, though, something I struggle with both of these is I think the movies have a hard time, for me, demonstrating why the characters care or should care. Like they both throw the fact that, oh, this place is going to be destroyed if we don't intervene, and I just don't feel like they either of them like pass the breach they need for justifying why these people should care beyond I want to live. Like there isn't, I just don't think either justifies it super well.
I totally agree with you. Especially it stood out for me watching it this time with Guardians, because now that this is the first time I've watched it since Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame came out, and we got so much context between like Gamora and Thanos. She totally would have known that was an Infinity Stone the whole time, right? Like, why did I get that the movie wanted to be like, oh, we don't know what this is. Like, it's a surprise that it's an Infinity Stone, but like, she knows Thanos is going for Infinity Stone. Like, she knows.
Orb, because like, she was like with Ronan at the time, so she didn't know.
But she should have known.
I don't know about that.
I don't know,
but man. Like, she knows that Thanos wants the Infinity Stones. Like, why would
I feel like it was at that point
Thanos want some random ball?
At that point, I feel like it was different.
Like, I feel like though, no, because we can get into this. The like minutia of Avengers Endgame and the time travel, and how when she was in that one, she knew what the orb was when they went back into like all that. But her knowing what the orb was would have solved so many problems of the weight of, oh shit, we need to like really stop this from happening the whole time, I guess. And then it would have like built up. Yeah, I don't know. That's one big issue that I have with Guardians. I totally agree with you though about Power Rangers that like they're just suddenly told you have 11 days to save the world and they're like, okay, guess we're going to do it.
Yeah, which I think they don't put in the legwork justifying why these characters should care. They're kind of like, they don't seem panicked about it. They don't seem worried. They're just like,
right,
let's do
there's
it.
There's one moment right after they're first leaving the spaceship and Jason is like, hey guys, I'm going to stay here so that way I can figure out what's going on with this coin and my super strength. And then they kind of never address why they go there ever again. It like just happens that one time, which I think Guardians does a better job of them like showing why they stick together, because there is the whole scene where Rocket and Drax want to leave or whatever, and Peter and Gamora want to stay, and Groot is Grooting. So yeah.
I don't know exactly how to talk about it yet, but I'll think about it for in the future about how because I really do think
just assuming.
I am making an assumption here. I'm making a hardcore assumption here, but like genuinely, like I do think that the Guardians do justify it, and I need to think about a better way to word it.
Well, maybe you'll get that chance next week.
We should vote very quickly.
Let's find out. We'll vote right now.
Well, we're going to vote in 1 second. There's one thing I want to say about Power Rangers really fast.
Please.
Yeah, go for it.
How much do you think Krispy Kreme paid to be literally essential to the plot?
So much money.
For the uninitiated, if you haven't watched this movie, if you didn't sit down to watch it,
you should. It's a pretty good movie, actually.
It's surprisingly fun. There's a magic MacGuffin in the middle of their town, and it's underneath the Krispy Kreme. So there are several scenes where like people stand outside the Krispy Kreme. They talk about Krispy Kreme. They show establishing shots of the Krispy Kreme.
They do a free donut day of the Krispy Kreme. They say if you
eats a Krispy Kreme,
the villain stops her destruction of the town as her monsters run about destroying things to sit inside the Krispy Kreme and eat a donut. Like,
you know what's the best part about that? You know, so if we really think about it, you know how Apple has that thing where you'll never see a villain using an Apple phone. They have to use an Android. Krispy Kreme said, nah, fuck it. We don't care if a villain eats our donuts and enjoys it. Enjoy that shit, villain. That's our demographic.
Also, it's really funny. We see her eating a lot in this movie, and she's just shoveling gold down her throat.
Yeah, she does. She slurps.
I wonder if that was a gold flaked Krispy Kreme.
No, I think just the one thing, like Krispy Kreme's trying to say the one thing, if you're an alien who only eats gold, the only other thing you can eat is a Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, so this is the only thing aliens so they had a really tough time when they rolled down while the dinosaurs were here. They're like, damn, there's no Krispy Kremes here.
And that's why they had to kill all the dinosaurs with the meteor. That's the real reason why.
Yeah, so I just wish I could have sat in on that meeting when they negotiated how much Krispy Kreme was going to pay to be in the Power Rangers movie where they jerk off a bowl in the first 5 minutes.
Honestly, I kind of want to go get Krispy Kreme, guys. Can we take a break, intermission, and just go get?
Yeah, let's do it. Get some fresh
Krispy
ones.
Kreme.
Leave the audience in suspense.
I want to be in the pitch meeting for the Tough Cut. How much they paid us to mention about Krispy Kreme being mentioned,
because we talked about it. All right, we did our contractual obligation, guys. That's going to be a cool $8 million to each of us. Alex, make sure you cut this part out so the audience doesn't know we're rolling in
you
it.
guys
from
are getting
our
$8 million?
Krispy Kreme hookup.
I got unlimited
sorry,
supply
Jake,
of Krispy Kreme. I don't think that's even.
Well, you checked the second
and you got
box.
them all at once. So they're going to go stale.
There's actually a truck outside of his house right now. They're dropping more off. They have to continually drop more off.
Please.
God, no.
I'm not done eating my gold. I need my donuts.
All right, now that tangent is done, do you guys want to vote?
Let's vote.
Yeah, let's do it. Jake, you go first.
I'm voting for Guardians of the Galaxy here.
I would be very happy if Guardians moved on, but out of respect, I think I have to vote for the Power Rangers movie, because I cannot state enough how I think it is more than just a fun movie. I think it is legitimately a good movie that everyone should watch.
I'm going to vote for Guardians of the Galaxy. Importantly, though, you should see Power Rangers. And wait for the day that it comes up against Sonic in a bracket.
Yeah.
That'll be a good conversation.
Movies have no business being as good as they are, you know?
That's a good theme.
A purely subjective theme.
Subjective for us thing. Here's the thing. Yeah, I would love to see a dark, gritty Power Rangers 2. I'd like them to go the Dark Knight route, be like Batman Begins is all right, and then like really get hardcore.
One tiny little thing I'll throw out before we move on. There actually exists a short fan film that's a dark, gritty Power Rangers where they like murder people and are like agents of war engineered to like wipe out the resistance or something.
Wow.
A porn star plays one of the characters in it. Anyway, the Japanese company that owns the right to the Power Rangers got so mad and have been trying to get it taken down for literal years now. So it's a fun piece of trivia.
I wish you would have told me that before. Funny. I would have voted Power Rangers.
I would have voted for that Power Rangers, even though it's 17 minutes long.
17 minutes longer than it should be.
Shall we hop over? I can introduce Seven Samurai.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seven Samurai, released in 1954, directed by the sort of well-known Akira Kurosawa. Perhaps one of the most drawn upon films in history. Kurosawa's epic tells the tale of a village under siege by bandits who, upon consulting their village elder, learn that only the villages that hire samurai survive the bandit raids. So they set out to gather 7, mostly samurai, who train the villagers, design fortifications, and bleed for the town. This movie, it is the lifeblood of so many tropes and themes and stylistic elements that you see in all of film. More importantly, though, I believe that regardless of that history, this is a movie that holds up, that stands on its own, sort of beyond that legacy, to still be a good movie. In terms of picking it for the bracket, you got to go back to the heart. I feel there are so few stories that do bringing together a band of people better than Seven Samurai. It is a long movie, but one that, despite its length, I don't think I'm ever upset to sit down. Well, if I have somewhere to be in 2.5 hours, I can't sit down and watch it. But I feel it's fantastic. Jake, do you want to go ahead? What were your thoughts?
Yeah. There's no question that this movie has so much to like credit to give to like film and in general and all that stuff. It really is, like Matthew said, the building blocks, and much of what I would say would be reiterating what he already said. Fantastic movie. One of the reasons why I love doing this podcast with you guys is that like some movies, you know, you love them, but they're just like, am I in the mood to watch Seven Samurai right now? Or that's not a knock on Seven Samurai. It's just, it is a 3-hour movie. It's an older one, so, you know, whatever. But watching it again, I was happy I watched it. You know what I mean? It seems more daunting than it is actually watching it. And so I really like the movie. There's a 10-minute intermission. Pretend like it's 2 movies. Yeah. You know, take a little rest between them. Alex, how's this one for you?
I'd never seen it before. I usually am pretty apprehensive when I watch a black and white movie, and I know that is like probably misguided, but it's because my dad watched a lot of them when I was younger. And it just soured my mouth every time I look at one. But this movie was incredible. This is such a good movie. Watching it, I was amazed at how well it holds up. The pacing of it, even though it's 3.5 hours, the pacing of it, I feel like, is so strong. It's a great movie. It is a just work of art in so many senses. It's incredible. So much respect to the literal hundreds of people that worked on this, because they had to have hundreds of actors on screen at multiple times.
This movie was a hell of a thing to shoot. Just with it's so crazy, just because like you see people fall a lot in this movie, just naturally slip and fall. That shit isn't scripted. They were just in horrible conditions, but they would keep it in, and the actors would be like, "Fuck it, we're going for it," and like people would just slip and fall. Like it's almost slapstick how much people slip and fall.
They're like running around as a giant group in the rain on like slippery mud.
Yeah. It must have been like really dangerous doing that around those horses, though.
It must have been hell to
really
shoot.
bad.
Honestly, it was probably a really endangering film. It probably couldn't be done today without a lot of.
I don't know.
They're just safer. I bet it was less like. It would be way more safe.
Do you want to jump to the other side and introduce Galaxy Quest, Alex?
Yeah, this is going up against Galaxy Quest.
I hear so many people ask us, "Hey, when is Galaxy Quest going up against Seven Samurai?" So I'm really excited for you to, introduce it.
Galaxy Quest, released in 1999, directed by Dean Parisot. The aging stars of a Star Trek-esque TV show reconcile their careers as they are shunted into a real space adventure based off of their past productions. They learn why they and so many love the show that changed them so long ago, and reignite their passion for what they once did. I think this movie has such good character work. I watched it a couple months ago, and I'd seen it before, but I watched it again and I was like, I remember this being good. And it just blew my mind how much I enjoy the characters. Tony Shalhoub is absolutely incredible in this movie. Sam Rockwell is such a great character. They play with so many Star Trek tropes. And I'm not like even a huge Trekkie or anything, but I think it's just so much fun. Jake, what'd you think?
Oh my God, everyone wants my opinion first.
Does that guy have a degree in film?
I hope not. Here's the thing. I love you two so dearly, and it is showcased in both these two picks because Seven Samurai is such a Matthew pick, and Galaxy Quest is such an Alex pick. Like, it's fun. It's like I hear absolutely no one talk about this movie, but I know that you do and you have before, and it just like, it's nice, and it reminds me of films that I like. I've seen this before, and I don't think about it too much, but certain scenes I'm just like, oh my God, I totally remember this, and I remember being like wigged out as a kid. So I had fun revisiting that, and also just thinking of you the whole time watching it. So it's fun. Definitely has some. I have to disagree about Tony Shalhoub. I thought, what the fuck is he doing in this movie?
So
and he's
good.
doing.
I love him.
He's weird, but like for no reason. Yeah,
we
can get into it. Yeah, but please, Matthew, how do you feel?
I had never seen this movie. I had never heard of this movie, and I sat down to watch it. And as the pieces start to fall into place of what this is going to be about, I am just like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Lo and behold, I sit through it having a fantastic time. And I was inches from texting Alex, like, why has no one told me about Galaxy Quest before? This movie is so good.
Right?
I had so much fun. Craziest thing. The day I sat down to listen or watch it, I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about Galaxy Quest. They had like a passing remark and I was like, huh, it exists. It's real.
That's wild.
This movie, it was just super fun. I had a really, really good time with it.
Yeah. Nice.
So the question of the day, if we can hop right through it. Favorite member of the team and why? Galaxy Quest?
Oh God, I'm so torn. I don't know why I started talking because I have no idea.
No, this is your moment.
I'm gonna pick 3. I think Sigourney Weaver's character is really funny, playing with the whole trope of like the woman not having anything to do, and then like her job is to just repeat the stuff from the computer. And God damn it, she's gonna do it. So good. And then I think Sam Rockwell, and I love Tony Shalhoub in these movies. I think all 3 of them are fantastic. And then Alan Rickman is great too. All of them. I love all of them.
Except for the lead, Tim Allen.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah. my heart wants to go with Sam Rockwell because, friend of the show. He's been on before, and I was just delighted to remember he was in this movie because that's just fun. Young Sam Rockwell doing his thing. But this movie just made me miss Alan Rickman a lot. So I'm going with Alan Rickman's character.
Yeah.
For sure.
If we get to pick 3,
we don't.
Oh, well, I
only
Alex gets
does.
2, so I really, really want to. Please, oh please, Jake.
Okay.
I'm gonna double down with Jake and say Alan Rickman is so great, so funny. I'm gonna agree with both of you and say Sam Rockwell. He is terrific.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. And that's not why we're saying it. He's so funny. I love the taking the red shirt concept so literally.
Yeah,
It's so great. He's so he does so well. And then Daryl Mitchell as Tommy, the navigator.
Really funny.
Tommy was great. Tommy overacted the shit out of this movie, and I love it so much.
I think
flails
it worked so well.
so much. Yeah.
I read a fun fact about this movie. So Tommy Weber in the movie, when they did the original series, he was a kid. Daryl Mitchell is 3 years older than Sam Rockwell. So that would mean that Sam Rockwell, as a crew member who dies like at the beginning of episode 18 or whatever, was like a 6-year-old kid.
Oh my! Do you guys want to know another fun fact about his character, the kid version?
Yeah,
that was Corbin Bleu from High School Musical.
Oh shit, you were
That's
right.
Wild.
Young Tommy.
Wow.
Yeah, I shit you not. And he also died in High School Musical in the prequel series. It was a whole thing. He got back to life. His name was Han. I don't know if you guys know it from Fast. Anyway.
God damn it. How about we
favorite
hop over
in
to Seven
Samurai? My favorite. I fucking love. I'm probably gonna butcher this, and I apologize. But Kukuchio, the one who he was the farmer who turned into a samurai.
Kikuchio.
The angry Kukuchio. He was the most captivating character and is the most captivating character for me. Like the rest have this poise and this gray and interest or whatever, but he is just such a interesting and captivating character, and he's not great at a lot of things, and sometimes he's awful, but I really love him as a member of this team, and he's got heart, and it's sometimes in the wrong place, sometimes he is awful, whatever, but it's I just love his character. I genuinely think it's awesome character work.
He's a great character. I think he definitely has one of the strongest arcs in the movie in just the way that information is revealed about him.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
This baby is me. Holy shit, guys. That was great.
And it just the way oh my god, shot composition with all that is
that's my motherfucker.
So,
but how about you guys?
So I have a question. Does the team member have to be one of the samurai? Because I have a favorite samurai,
you could,
but my favorite team member is Yohei.
Okay.
His face, the whole movie is fantastic. It's so good. My favorite samurai though is Kyuzo.
Yeah, that's a badass motherfucker. That's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. Yes.
Justice for him. Ugh, justice.
Now, what about you?
It is so hard for me to pick. I truly love all of the samurai. I think they're characterized so well. It's tough. It's tough for me. I'm gonna go with Kanbei. The leader of the samurai.
Leader dude.
I think that there are just so many fun things going on with this character. I think the physical ticks established, the rubbing of his head. I think his cleverness, there's just so much to like. He's just a fascinating character. All right. So where do we want to take this? How do you compare these things?
How do you compare these two movies?
I have to get something out of the way that I know you guys are probably going to disagree with. So you mentioned Sigourney Weaver's character, and I get that it played on the trope of her not doing anything and did the computer, and that bit was funny, but I still don't think she got I think it was just a nod and a wink, haha, get it, we're playing on it, and then she still didn't have shit to do. She still digressed into the showing more of her cleavage, and then she was out of the show to do whatever, and I just felt it was bad, and I felt it was still a symbol of the time of when Galaxy Quest came out, and it wasn't that well handled. personally. I know that they did do subversion and they hinted at the joke, but I still think they needed to let her. I thought they were going to let her actually do shit like after they did that, but they didn't.
Spends a lot of her time essentially following Tim Allen's character Jason around as he does the things, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and what I will say, as in comparison with Seven Samurai, an uncomfortable part of this movie is the part with oh god, what's her name? The daughter, Shino. Yeah, Shino. And I thought when they did it, the lead samurai, he was going to be like, oh, well, you deserve that too, or whatever, when they're all getting. But no, they actually had a lot of conversations about like, oh, it's Flames of War, which was also kind of weird. But then it was like, look, I don't know. Like these two are like young. We're trying to move past it. But then at the end, he's still as a symbol of getting the troops together. All that he's like, well, now you're a man, so we expect a lot out of you. And like I think Kurosawa almost like presents a nuanced take on like how they're approaching women, but then it's still like it's weird. It's just weird to me. And both of these films, like, I think that was like the most weird for me.
I think Seven Samurai still does do a pretty nuanced take on it. I think movies generally have a pretty difficult time portraying like soldiers in times of war, and you know, the sex things that they do that are bad. And I think this movie kind of shows it in a light, like a lighter way, but then like still discusses the like negative sides of it and the negative aspects of it. But I think it's also, I mean, it was made in 1954. And so, of course, there are going to be things and opinions that are dated.
Something I think that was really interesting with Shino's portrayal is that overwhelmingly when it comes to physical intimacy, she is the one that initiates it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very shown that like it isn't a samurai overtaking. Like it's very much,
which is very, very interesting to me.
Right.
As it goes to, I mean, I've obviously can't comment too much on what is this, like 18th century Japan.
But you said you had a whole degree in 18th century. This was why we brought you on the show.
That is my degree, 18th century Japanese history specifically, not Japanese history overall, just that. Which I think is an interesting way to kind of shake up that dynamic, especially we're not going to talk about them too much, but there are so many remakes, reduxes, inspirations of this story. And I think, what is it? The Magnificent Seven is the Western one. There's also the other earlier. Yeah. Chris Pratt's in that. And I feel like her counterpart character in all of those is handled much worse and is much more damsel-y than Shino is. And I just think it's I agree with you. Like, he's a man because he's had sex, like doesn't age well. But I think it's interesting that she's the one that initiates.
For sure.
You know,
I will say though, I feel like I agree that Sigourney Weaver's character is somewhat like just following Tim Allen around, but she also, I feel like, has more to do and like has her own arc where I feel like Shino does.
Definitely not. Shino doesn't give.
Hers is just informing the younger samurai's arc and her dad's arc more than anything else.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, they both have their things.
Sure. And the younger samurai being Katsushiro.
Yes.
I'll try and jump in with almost correct pronunciation.
I wrote their names down. I just like I'm trying my best.
It is tough because they also don't say each other's names a ton of times.
Yeah, that's what I was also looking for because I like learned through like repetition or whatever. Yeah, it was very interesting. So these two teams, like Galaxy Quest is very much like they're not really like they're like actors and stuff, which I think is like so funny. Like it's a very funny like thing to like put them in a scenario. I thought that was great. And in Seven Samurai, like this is a really interesting pick because a lot of our team members die in the end, you know? And I think that's one of, if not the only one that I could think of in our whole team thing where like the whole team isn't besides Lord of the Rings where they separate.
And Boromir
which is
dies.
A really interesting thing. Like these people, he dies. But like Sean Bean, does he ever really die?
No, he also never really lives, though. Generally not past the early portions of anything.
Yeah, but I just think both of them being teams were just like they're not really like, it's not really about how they stand long term. Yeah, they're not classic teams.
I think the Galaxy Quest, looking at it from a team dynamic, I think is really a like good and interesting way to examine the movie, because so much of it is like they are a team, right? They're a cast and they are like fracturing basically. And then you like slowly throughout the film, they like realize who they are. They realize like how the show has impacted them, changed them, made them who they currently are. And it reinvigorates like their friendship and what they do together so much that they end up making the show again, another reboot of it, right?
Which is so fun.
I think it handles its like character and team dynamic in a really strong way.
The thing I want to throw in to that is I think you have a really interesting team evolution going on in Galaxy Quest, where they go from cast that is playing they're a cast that is a team, but then they are playing a group of people that are a team. And then over the course of the movie, they evolve into a reflection of that team.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised by another dude.
That movie would have been such a fun pick for this bracket.
I almost picked it.
I think I all considered it at one point. Yeah. And then they evolve into obviously their new version, their new movie version or TV show version, which I just think is a really interesting set of evolutions, because you have a lot of different versions of relationships at play. Because, they obviously all have a previous history outside of the show, but then have their dynamic from the show informing that, and then evolve into a new sort of interpersonal state.
Right.
Whereas Seven Samurai obviously doesn't have the framing device of a sci-fi show.
Well, I mean, I think Seven Samurai, though, it's dealing with different things. It's not necessarily thinking about like, okay, they've got Seven Samurai. We're going to look at like the setting that they are in and like how that affects who they are as people. And it isn't trying to look at like, okay, what do these people mean to each other? I think there are some great characters. I don't know that I necessarily think it constitutes like a great team, though.
I think I disagree with that. I absolutely think they they come together to form, I think, a couple sets of teams. You obviously have the samurai themselves, but then you also have the group as it comes together with the village. And you have all this screen time dedicated to I'm trying to think of a better word than team building, the training exercises that come of like, you must stay with your unit. Like you guys need to be able to depend upon each other. And I think that's an underlying narrative to the entire structure of them as a party.
I think they do that with the village, but I don't think they do that with each other.
I mean, I personally disagree. I think we get a lot of time that they spend just together in the first half as you slowly build out the team of samurai. And then into the second half as they're, sections of the village they're kind of overseeing cross with each other as they strategize, as they plan. They have a handful of conversations together, like in various different contexts, both with the village and without. Like,
right.
I will personally disagree.
My 2 cents is kind of like in the middle of it is that like one interesting thing about, because I do think they spend more of the movie like training like the other like people, whatever, but I still think they do so as a team. But you can see like when 2 of them are like hanging out with like their like, squadron, and they're looking ahead and they're like seeing him like cheer up his like people, and they're like, oh yeah, we should cheer up. And like they're learning from each other by like looking how each other like leads, which is a really interesting team dynamic. Like they're all believe themselves as leaders in a strange way. I think the young samurai and Kukuchiyo like complicate that because they're very interesting in like how they function in the team. But I will say like it's interesting. This movie's long, right? Like it is long, and so it has that benefit of doing that. And you'll notice in a lot of our picks here, like they're longer movies, and it speaks to building a proper team and how you're supposed to like, the time and care that it does takes. As much as Galaxy Quest is a fun movie, and you can already tell they're a team because the cast and all that stuff, it's hard to do it in like, it's like an hour and 42-minute film when a lot of these, it's versus a film that's like 3.5 hours. So like they have the time to actually hang out, where a lot of Galaxy Quest is we have to assume a lot, which is fine because like that's what it is. It's not trying to be a
I think it's something we touched on a little bit with Lord of the Rings and the comparison of the extended edition versus the regular one. The extended edition gives it much more time to breathe and provide character moments. And I think that is what the length of Seven Samurai is doing. There isn't the option for a shorter version because Kurosawa believes all essential to the story.
Mm-hmm. What I'll say though, I think like, Galaxy Quest is shorter, and so it has less of those moments. But I think what it means is that like each of those characters is distilled and is so like potent in the moments that they are in that you get a really strong sense of character from each of them. And I think Seven Samurai is a great movie, but I cannot tell you between Gorobi and Heihachi and like between the two of them and between a couple of the other samurai, like which one was the one that was splitting wood? Like, which one was supposed to be the fun-loving one? Like, I feel like you don't get necessarily an arc for all of the samurais like I wanted to. I don't know. I feel like it's a great movie, but I feel like when I'm looking at character development, character growth, team dynamic, I feel like I don't get that from Seven Samurai.
Yeah, I think Seven Samurai almost falls, this is a weird comparison, but almost falls with the same trap that I felt Fast Five did, where like it focuses way more of its care on other characters, and so some do get more left out and not as hardcore of an arc. I love the symbolism of Heineke, he was the wood chopper samurai,
Heihachi.
and Heihachi. And he was like, they picked him because he would boost morale, you know what I mean? And he was the first one to die. Like that's fucked, and that's like really like powerful and like cool. But that was how he served the team. It was almost like in his death that he served the team a little bit more like with it.
Yeah, I guess there is something.
And so
to
lot of them, like a lot of like the team members, they're not there to fully be a team. They serve other core members of the team that Kurosawa wants to focus on more. And so, like, if you're talking full team, Gal Gadot doesn't have a character name, but they're focusing more on fucking, The Rock and Vin Diesel. So that's how I feel like is the kind of issue and disconnect. So I kind of, that's how I see it. I will say though, like, inversely with Galaxy Quest, I don't feel like a lot of them get strong. I mean, Tony Shalhoub is separate from the team for a lot with hooks up with also that alien that he hooks up with, the female, what's the race?
I can't remember.
Thermian.
Yes,
Thermian.
That's right.
I had a huge crush on her as a kid. That was one of my awakenings. That's how I remembered this movie when I was watching it. I was just like, who is she? Why is she going bleep blur blue? I'm into that. And I just felt like I need to be vulnerable and share that with you guys. I will say the performance of the lead alien dude, that was pretty fucking great. Like he nailed that. We do like that shit was so funny to me. And he like committed,
We're pushing time a little bit.
Yeah, we should.
Oh shit. Let's do it. Let's vote.
I mean, I think it is evident. I am voting for Seven Samurai.
And probably pretty obvious I'm voting for Galaxy Quest. I think Seven Samurai is a great movie. I just don't think it necessarily fits a team bracket.
Here's the thing. When the Bay Area exploding scene and they're literally just diving for no reason in Galaxy Quest, that was pretty funny. But I'm voting for Seven Samurai.
With that, coming at you next episode, we've got The Lord of the Rings versus Fast Five. And
I hope you guys are doing your required viewing of watching 1 through 4 of Fast Five.
Right. I'll watch Fast 7 again.
Jake, that doesn't count.
Why?
Because that's arcs that happen later in the future.
Honestly, the post character work is good too. Just watch all the Fast and Furious movies. Required viewing, watch all of them for the next time we record.
Buy midnight tickets to the new one, pre-order them. Yeah. If your theater doesn't do that, call them up and say, hey, I want to reserve 2 seats. If they get confused, you push, press the issue, say, please, oh, please, I need the tickets.
I thought you were going to say press charges.
They will not let me buy tickets to Fast and Furious 9, 11, 13. And then in the second half of next episode, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy versus Seven Samurai. So look forward to that.
Spicy.
Wow.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. Nice.
Hell yeah. thank you guys so much for hanging with us. As usual, our link to still seek relief for Hurricane Ida is in our bios. So if you guys can spare anything, please feel free to donate. All those causes are great. There's still rebuilds going on. And follow us on all the social medias at Tough Cut Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, our Zanga blog. Anyone remember those?
No.
Okay. All right. Follow us on Gaia Online. Anyone remember that?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. I got one yes. That's all I need.
I mean,
hell yeah.
Of the crowd you were asking, that means you had 50% recall it. So that's not too bad.
That's an A in my book, right?
Unless the curve is really, really big, it's probably not.
Hell yeah. I never got a curve. I did a film degree.
The only curve he had was his penis.
My penis is shaped like a boomerang. All right, everybody.
Call him Captain Boomerang.
I got a boomerang for a dick. For my dingo. Is that good? Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was great. That was great, Jay.
That's what we're ending the episode with.
Yep.
I'm going to keep that.